In this sponsored tutorial, we're going to look at the computer-assisted translation and Gutenberg integration that WPML now features. It is the #1 translation plugin on the market. It has a boatload of features, not just the ones I'm going to show you, but these new ones really take it to the next level. And the computer-assisted translation makes life really, really easy. And with Gutenberg now released, you of course need Gutenberg integration. And I'm going to show you how all of it works, and we're getting started right now. Hey, what's up? My name is Bjorn. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time here and you like WordPress tips and tricks and getting better at it, make sure you click subscribe and the bell notification icon so you don't miss any videos. And make sure you check out the Facebook group linked to in the description down below so we can all help each other get better at WordPress and create great things. And with that out of the way, let's check out the screen capture. I'll see you there. If you already have WPML installed and running on your site, there's a link in the description down below that will take you to the point where we start talking about the computer-assisted translation and the Gutenberg integration, which is the meat of the tutorial. This first part is for new users who want to get this plugin set up. After we have the plugin installed and set up, we're going to translate these pages that you see here. The first one is a Divi page. This is a Divi template. We're going to translate everything in here. We're going to translate this Elementor page. This is an Elementor template. And then we're going to translate this Gutenberg page. And all these pages we're going to translate using the computer-assisted translation. So you don't have to hire a translator for this, although you might want to have them edit the material afterwards, but we'll get to that later on. And we're going to translate all of these into a bunch of different languages. And we're going to do that with WPML, which is my favorite translation plugin for WordPress. It is a premium only. If after this video you do decide to get WPML, I would really appreciate if you use the link in the description down below. It's an affiliate link. WPML will send me a few dollars for referring you to them, but it doesn't cost you any more to use that link. But it helps me making these videos, and it helps me keep the lights on and feeding the family and things like that. And WPML is not that expensive. You can get started for $29 for the year. The one we're using is the Multilingual CMS because we are going to use the page builder support. And that is awesome, the page builder support. And there's all kinds of features that we'll get to later on as well. Either way, just click on the one you want, click on Buy Now. Just simply fill in your details. I'm not going to fill it in with you. I'm sure you can figure it out. You can use credit card or PayPal. And then you'll get an email saying payment's been made, and you'll have some plugins to install. So let's install those plugins. Let's head into the dashboard, head over to Plugins, and then Add New, and then click on Upload Plugin. And there are 4 plugins you want to download and install. One is WPML Media Translation. Drag and drop that, click on Install Now. The other 3 are going to be installed in the exact same fashion, so I'm just going to fast forward as I do that. And I'm going to activate them in bulk once they're all uploaded. So that's the last one. I'm going to return to the plugin installer, and I'm not actually going to go to install plugins instead to see all the ones we've installed. And we're going to activate the 3 plugins we uploaded. Before we activate them, let's just talk about what they actually do and what they are. The main plugin is this one here. That's what actually provides the translation capabilities for your website and translation controls. This add-on allows you to translate text that's outside of posts and pages. For example, taglines and SEO data and things that exist in WordPress but are not in pages and posts themselves. You used to have to do this with MO files and PO files, but now you can do it right in the dashboard using the string translation add-on. Translation management. This is where when you hand over a site to your client or once you start running your own site, you can manage translations. We're going to be looking more into this in this tutorial, but basically it gives you a dashboard where you can see an overview of all the pages you have that need to be translated, who's translating them, or you can assign translators and things like that. And WPML Media allows you to translate media in the media library. It even allows you to show certain images for different languages. So maybe you have an image with text on it and you want to have that image specific to each language translation. You can create each image that you need and define which one appears for which translation. We're not going to get to that in this tutorial, but WPML recommends that you install all 4 of these on every website that you're translating. That's why we have all 4. The main ones we're going to focus on are the main plugin and the translation management plugin. So we're going to activate these now. Go to bulk action, choose activate, click apply. Before we move on, I'm going to quickly update Elementor Pro here. You always want to make sure your plugins and themes and core files are up to date. Otherwise, they might cause conflicts with new plugins or existing features on your site, and also introduce security vulnerabilities. So always want to make sure you're up to date. So here we can see we have to enter a key for our purchase. So if we go into our WPML account, I just logged in, went to my username, clicked on my account. You'll see a sites section. Click on that. Then click on add new site. I'm going to get the URL of my site here. This is just developing locally. Paste the URL in here. Click on add. Click on show key. Here's our key right here. Copy that. And then head back into our site. Click on the links that say purchase a subscription or enter an existing key. There's 4 of them because there's 4 plugins, so click on any one of them. On the right hand side here, it says already bought ? Registered WPML. Click on that. Paste in the key. Click on OK. And now we are off to the races. So the first thing we want to do is configure WPML. Now we're going to quickly go through the configuration of the plugin. If you already have WPML installed and running on your site, there's a link in the description down below that will take you to the point where we start talking about the computer-assisted translation and the Gutenberg integration, which is the meat of the tutorial. This first part is for new users who want to get this plugin set up. So let's carry on with the setup. Click on Configure WPML. Choose a base language here. A lot to choose from. Click on Next. Then choose the languages you want to translate to. So I'm just going to pick semi-random, German. Let's do Hindi. Let's do Arabic. Let's do Russian and Yiddish, Nepali, and Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. Then click on Next. You can choose as many of those as you want, by the way. Click on Next when you've chosen the ones you need. You can also add or remove them later. Now we can rearrange the order. By default, they're alphabetical, which I'm okay with. But if you want to have a specific language be at the forefront, maybe your native language or the one that you get the most traffic for on your website, you can just drag and drop and move them around. Just like that. So this language switcher is going to appear on your website. And if there's a language without a translation, you can choose to not display that language's link on the page, which is pretty smart. You can also link to the home page. If it's missing, I'm going to choose skip. You can add a language switcher to a menu. I'm going to click on add to menu, main menu. Here it's going to show us a preview. So here's how it looks right now. It's a drop down, so it has the menu items, then has a drop down for languages right here. You can make it the first position or last position, a drop down or a list. The list would probably take too much space on most menus unless you only have 1 or 2 languages. So I'd choose a drop down. I also like to include a flag because I like the visual experience of having a flag for the translation. Native language name and language name in current language. So what happens with that is each of these languages, you can tell Arabic is in Arabic here, which I can't read or write or anything with it. Hindi as well. So the Russian, I don't know what to do with those characters. But those languages, the person who wants to translate to those will be able to understand those. And then when they do translate to them, the menu changes so all the languages are displayed in their language, however it's written in their language, which is pretty neat. Color, I'm just going to choose gray, and then I'm going to click Save. And we're going to have a language switcher in our menu. You can add it the exact same way to a widget in the sidebar or in the footer, and you can also have links to translation of posts. So at the very top of the post, you can have a link that says this post is also in Japanese, for example. So click on that. Show us an example here. This post is also available in, I'm going to add the flag, because like I said before, I like the flags. You can choose to have this appear above or below the post. I'm going to put it above. Click on Save. Scroll on down, click on Next. This allows you to send information to WPML about potential compatibility issues. So if you do this and you do have to end up contacting their support, it helps them figure out faster what the problem could be. So you can choose to send information or not. Choice is yours. This is my demo site, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to wait till this saves here. Then click on Next. We have registration key already in there. Here it shows that Nepali is having an issue. Cannot automatically download the translation, so it's asking us to manually do it. So the default locale, I'm going to click on Edit Languages. And the default locale they wanted over here was NE_NP. So let's see if that fixes that issue. Back to where we were. Refresh. Looks like that did it. Click on Finish. Currently we have 2 options under WPML. Once this is finished, we should have a whole bunch more that pop up, aside from just languages and support. In other words, this setup process is crucial because if you don't do it, you're not going to have all the options necessary to manage your translations. So here's all the other stuff going on that I just spoke of. Here it says the classic editor or the standard editor doesn't work with Divi, so we have to use a translation editor, which we'll do. And with one more step before you can translate on Elementor and Gutenberg, you need to enable WPML's translation editor, which is the same thing with Divi. So we're going to click on Enable Now to enable it. So the translation editor is enabled. Now there are a lot of options in this plugin. We're not going to go through every single one, but what we are going to do is go over the important ones that lead us down to the path of computer-assisted translation and Gutenberg translations and page builder translations. To do that, go to Translation Management. Now, once the plugin's all set up, this is likely where we're going to spend the most of your time in translation management and translations and possibly media translation. Those three will be where you spend the bulk of your time because that is where the translating actually happens. This is where we set up the translation manager. You can choose to skip this if you like. I choose not to. So I'm going to assign a translation manager. This would be someone, if you are running a big website, you want to have someone manage the translations, which someone who preferably isn't you managing them. This is where you choose the person on your site, create a new user to be that role, or you can select an existing user to be that role, or you're the manager yourself. I'm going to be the manager myself in this case. Often not recommended to be the manager yourself because it's too much work. So I'm going to make myself the manager. Now for the translation method, you can choose your own translators or you can choose translator services. So just to show you what those are, let's check out the services. There are quite a number of them. You can activate any of them. They obviously need subscriptions. And most of these translation services charge per word. And there are a lot of translation services. So there's no shortage. If you have the money to pay for translations, there's no shortage of services you can use. But with this new version, I keep talking about this and we're going to get there really soon. With the computer-assisted translation, you probably don't need a translation service. So I'm going to skip this step. I want to add my own translators. Even though I'm going to show you computer-assisted translation, there still is some work to be done. So if you wanted to have someone in your office manage that, you can click on Add Translator. I'm going to select an existing user. I created one called Translator Jane, or Jane the Translator, or something like that. So here's Jane Translate, Jane the Translator. And you can choose what languages that person will translate. So you can choose the from language, whatever that may be. Our base content is going to be English for this example, so I'm going to choose English for the from. And then Jane is going to be able to choose or translate to Russian, German, and Yiddish. Now when you're logged in as Jane, the only languages she will see as being able to translate are the ones you've checked here. So Hindi, Nepali, Portuguese, and Arabic are not going to be visible for her option to translate, which you're going to see more what I mean in just a second. But just keep in mind, if you choose a translator and you match with the language, they are only able to do the languages that you've matched, unless you change the settings later on. So I'm just going to choose these three, click on Add Translator, and I've changed my mind. I'm going to edit the languages. I'm going to give her all of them. Click on Save. Then click on Continue. And now here's where we turn on the Advanced Translation Editor, which includes machine translation, which is computer-assisted translation, which is awesome. It is awesome stuff. Click on Select to select that one. It's just going to activate it. Then we click on Continue. Once it's activated, there it goes. Now click on Continue. Now it gives us a summary of what we've done. If we assigned translation services, that'll be shown here as well. Click on Done when you're done reading the summary. I'm not going to worry about the media translation errors we have up here right now because we're not using that plugin for this tutorial. Maybe for one in the future, we'll get into that. But now we come to a page where it shows us all of the pages that we have on our site and what translations we have for those pages. These X's mean we don't have any translations, which makes sense. You can get here as well by just going to Translation Management. Once we have that setup process done that we just did, go to Translation Management, you can see all these pages. I'm going to click this little checkbox to select all of them. It shows us the estimated number of words because you pay for translations by the word. So if you have a translation service, you can estimate how much it'll cost. And which language you want to translate to. You can choose Translate, Duplicate Content, or Do Nothing. If you choose the top ones here, it selects all of them. If you choose the bottom ones, it just chooses for that specific page. Duplicate Content means it duplicates the original. So if you have an English as your original, and you choose Duplicate Content for the German, then the German one is just going to show in English text. Or Do Nothing to not even translate it, not even have, in our case, because we chose not have that flag appear if the translation doesn't exist, it will just not show the flag. I'm going to choose to translate all of them, and add selected content to translation basket. And this process is basically where you are selecting which pages you want translated into which languages you want them to be translated. So we have them in the translation basket now. So let's click on this tab to see what that looks like. Instead of X's, we now have little baskets for all the languages. So here we see all the translations we want to have done. The total number of words, it said 900 before, but that was for just those 3 documents, one version. Whereas now we have translating from English to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different languages. So you have a lot more words, obviously. We can actually define a translator here if we want to. I'm just going to click on Send All Items for Translation. And this makes a lot more sense when you're using a service. If you're doing it yourself and doing it locally, this helps you stay organized. But this really makes a lot of sense having this process when you think of translation services where it has to be organized for a third party to do this properly for you. So I was just going to wait till this is done processing, then click on Done. Now, instead of the shopping cart or the basket, we now have a hourglass, which means that we're waiting. We're waiting for somebody to start translating these things. Since we're the ones doing the translating in this example, we're going to click on Translations under WPML. No translation languages configured for this user. This is what I was talking about earlier. When you pick the languages for someone to translate, if they don't, or if you don't choose the language for them, they can't see the translations. So I'm going to show you how to fix this in case you come across this issue. Go back to Translation Management, click on Translation Roles, and here we have Jane. This is where we can edit Jane's languages if we want to, add or remove them. Click on Add Translator. I'm going to select an existing user. I'm going to make it me. I'm going to choose Set Language Pairs. So I'm going to translate those. Nepali, Yiddish, and Portuguese will not appear for my options. And from, set that to English, click on Add Translator. And since Nepali, Yiddish, and Portuguese do not appear for me, I'm going to have to rely on Jane to translate those. Or someone else on your site would be doing the translations. I click on Translations. On the left-hand side, we can see the titles of the pages waiting to be translated. We can see which languages we're translating to, the status, currently we're waiting. And the translator, when they see this information, they can choose Take and Translate for whichever one they want and translate. So I'm going to start with the privacy policy. It's the Gutenberg page, and I'm going to translate it into Russian. So I'm going to click on Take and Translate for that. And this now takes us to the translation dashboard. This is on, as you can see the URL, WPML servers. So the translations in this advanced translator is happening on their server, which is not using your server resources, which is fantastic. And we can see the machines, or the computer, has already created the translation. Now, I don't know how accurate this is because I don't speak or read Russian, but I'm going to assume it's pretty accurate. If you don't have the content appearing here like this, mine just appeared as I came here, so it translated automatically right away. Click on Translate Automatically if you don't see that information. You can choose to keep sentences as incomplete, meaning we have these green stripes here. Incomplete will make a yellow stripe, which means you have to review it and approve it. Or if you're supremely confident at the computer's abilities to translate perfectly, you could choose to not review. So choose which one of these is best for you, then click on Translate. Like I said, this is when you don't have information here, or we're actually missing this piece right here that it now inserted for review. You can click on that, and it has the text over here that you can now edit however you want to. And then click on the check mark to save it and complete it, or you can save a draft if you want to come back to it later. It shows spelling errors in here. So it picks up the HTTP as a spelling error, the domain is a spelling error, and local is a spelling error. Now, you might encounter things like this where you don't want that to pick up as a spelling error every time. HTTP, for example, might not be a great one because it's commonly used on the internet. So you can click on Add All to Dictionary, and that will add them all to dictionary, and those won't appear as spelling errors later on. Click on the check mark whenever you're ready. That is now marked as green. And you can come into any one of these and start editing. And you see possible spelling errors for any of them. You can choose to update those. Just click on, for example, HTTPS. Just click on that. No suggestions for automatic. No suggestions. None of these have suggestions. But if you want to add them individually to the dictionaries, click on Add Gravatar or add whatever the word is to dictionary. If they did have suggestions, they'd show up down here. You can click on the suggestion and it'll automatically replace it in your text up here. Using this method with the computer-assisted translation is going to end up saving you money in the long run because you don't have to hire someone to translate word for word. Normally a translator would come in and they translate these 3 words into a different language, then you'd pay for 3 words of translation. Whereas if you have an editor come in, it's already translated. This might actually be correct. I just don't know. I don't speak Russian or read Russian. So who we are, this might be who we are in Russian, and that's correct. So I don't have to change anything. So they'll be able to go through the content a lot faster, make changes where needed, and if you do a lot of translation on your site, you'll probably end up saving a lot of money using this method. When you're all done, click on Finish. So here's our translated text. That looks fantastic to me. It's not formatted clearly. The text on the page, this is the privacy policy page, this one here. There's more formatting. There's a nice title or headlines, regular paragraph text. So there's some formatting on the page here, which we don't see here because it strips out all the HTML. This is just the text. Click on Complete. And now Success Translation Complete. Now we're going to be taken back into the website. Our page is reloading here, as you can see. And now we have the privacy policy, English to Russian, status complete. Now before we go see what that looks like, let's translate Elementor and Divi. Let's try Divi first. Let's try translating from English to Hindi for the Divi theme. Click on Take and Translate. It takes us back to our familiar page, and this time we did not have an automatic translation. This is a Divi page builder page, and I'm going to click on Translate Automatically. And here's our translation. Is this correct? Again, I don't speak or read Hindi, so I don't know for sure, but I can tell that hashtag top, possibly being a hashtag, might have to be in English. I'm not sure, but there might be a Hindi version of that hashtag. Lorem ipsum text, it had trouble translating the Latin into Hindi, presumably because we chose to translate from English to Hindi, not from Latin to Hindi. So that might be why the lorem ipsum is not coming over. And everything else, I don't know how times work in India. Maybe 10 a.m. is correct? I don't know. Akape could be a boutique word that they don't know. But either way, you click into here, you change it to whatever it needs to be. Let's say it's this. I don't even know how to type this character set. So I'm just going to copy this. And let's say it's that, which it's not. Clearly that's wrong. But I'm going to click on the check mark, and that updates the translation. And here it says we have a spelling error. What's a spelling error? It's this. Clearly I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to choose to ignore it. It's going to keep on telling me it's a spelling error, but that's fine. So we can go through again and click any one of these and edit them as needed. All these are yellow, or most of them are, so we have to approve all of them. But I am going to click on Finish and hope we can auto approve. Job not finished. Save and complete the translation of all sentences. Okay, so we have to go in and approve all of them. I'm just going to fast forward while I do this. Okay, done. Going to click on Finish. This is not quite how the Divi page looks. The Divi page that we just translated is quite nicely laid out, as you can see, but it's going to put that information into the translated page with this design. And Akape or Copy looks like it's the company name. That's why I couldn't translate that. Click on Complete when we're all done, when we're happy with it. Now to go back to our site, and then we're just going to quickly translate the Elementor page, zip through that, and then we're going to check out our translations on the front end. So let's translate Elementor from English to German. It's actually a translation I can kind of do myself. Click on Take and Translate. And we have some of the information already translated into German. Some of it's not, so I'm going to click on Translate Automatically. You may have all of them filled in, none of them filled in, but either way, click on Translate Automatically to fill them in. I'm just going to skip through these and approve them. You'd obviously want to go line by line to make sure the translation is correct. Go through and approve all of them. Click on Finish at the bottom. That looks pretty solid. Click on Complete. So now that we have each of those pages translated, the Gutenberg page, Divi page, and the Elementor page, let's see what this looks like on the front end. So let's do the Gutenberg page first, which we see here. We have a language switcher in the main navigation, as we set up earlier. We currently only have this page translated into Russian. So only Russian appears in this menu, and English, Russian and English, as opposed to all 7 languages, and then clicking on some of them and not having it be translated. We also have this at the top of the post, which we set up. We can turn it off just by doing the reverse what we did earlier. Just say don't have this at the top of the post. You can also have this at the bottom if you wanted. So we can click on either here or in the drop down, click on here, and that will take us to the Russian language version. Now it's detecting my browser is not set up to be Russian, so it's asking me if I want to translate this page back to English. I'm just going to close that. You can see the admin bar up here is also translated, and the text is all translated. We have a new URL up here. I assume this means privacy policy in Russian. I have no idea what that means, but let's just assume that's what it means. So that's how we translate pages, and then we can switch back and forth very easily. It has English written in Russian here, so no matter which language you're in, you can see the correct translation or correct name of the language you're translating to. On the Elementor page, add a widget to the very bottom. So this is the English version. There's a widget at the very bottom. Just click on that, click on German. Only one selection because we only translated this to one language, which is the German language. Ask me again if I want to translate it back. No, admin bar is translated. All the text is translated based on the translations we saw earlier in the translation editor. And they can be easily edited through the translation editor again. The whole page is nicely translated into German. The Divi page, let's check that out. Language switcher at the very bottom as well. Here we have all the English. Let's click on the language switcher in the footer. This one we translated to Hindi. And here we have, as much as possible, translated to Hindi. Juice shop could use some work. And that's how we can switch back and forth to languages. And it's pretty straightforward. And this is computer-assisted translation, so it went super quickly. Something that's pretty cool is you can now edit these translations on these pages in two different ways. One is by clicking on Edit, and it goes back into the editor. It allows you to choose from whichever language that page has been translated into. Even for the page builders, if we click on Edit with Elementor, we have this page in German because we clicked on Edit with Elementor on the German version of this page. And we can edit this text right in here, just like we would any other Elementor page. And this is where you can also add different images for different languages because this page is specific to the German language. And of course, you can go into translations and then edit any of these just by clicking the Edit button. And for the Divi theme, let's just enable the Visual Builder. Now we can edit the page inside of the Divi editor. Click into any one of these and edit the text, and we can do that on the Hindi version of this page. And of course, if you have any other translation on the page, you can switch to that translation and edit right in here. So all that to say, WPML is an awesome plugin if you want to translate your website. It makes it really easy, especially with the new abilities with the computer-assisted translation and the Gutenberg integration. So make sure you click on the link below, buy one of these options. I prefer the middle one. Has the best options for the best price. And that link is an affiliate link. If you buy through there, I get a small commission from WPML. I appreciate that. Keeps the lights on, keeps you making these videos, and it doesn't add extra cost to you. And if you want to level up your translation, have computer-assisted translation, and save a lot of money in the long run by leveraging the power of computers and computer-assisted translation, then make sure you check out WPML. Just in case what you saw in this tutorial is not great enough to want you to get this plugin, there are 14 standout features amongst the many more features this plugin has that I think are very powerful. The first one is complete WooCommerce integration with the WooCommerce Multilingual add-on. You can translate everything. You can translate the price, the buttons, the currency icons. You can even have different images, like we mentioned in the tutorial, for different languages if you want to. So there's complete WooCommerce integration with this add-on. The second feature that makes it awesome is integration with page builders. Here are the currently supported page builders. These are among the most popular currently on WordPress. So if you're using a page builder, you're likely using one of these. The third standout feature is full integration with the Yoast SEO plugin, so you can translate all your SEO to match whatever language the page is. The fourth standout feature is the media translation ability, which we touched on in this tutorial as well, and it allows you to change your images in your media, captions and descriptions and alt text and the images and media themselves for different languages. The fifth standout feature is the ability to translate URLs to whatever language that page is. We saw some of that in the tutorial where the Russian page was translated, the URL was translated to be Russian. And you can even do this with custom post types, not just the regular pages and posts that you find in WordPress. The sixth great feature is the ability to choose translation services right in the dashboard. And there's a huge list of services to choose from. which will make translating your website a whole lot easier. The 7th standout feature is string translation, which comes with this second plugin that we installed during this tutorial as well, but didn't actually use. And it allows you to change the text inside the WordPress dashboard without changing MO or PO files, and allows you to change text that's not part of a post. For example, taglines, SEO data, which we mentioned earlier. It allows you to change the text of plugins and themes that appears in the dashboard. And it gets you one step closer to translating every single word on your website, both in the back end and the front end. The 8th standout feature is how many plugins this plugin plays nice with. And there's a list on this page. I've linked to in the description down below. There's a list of 15 pages with, it looks like about 20, maybe 30 plugins, maybe 20 plugins per page. That's a lot of plugins. And how well it integrates, whether it's been tested. BBPress, for example, is compatible. It has known issues, and they're very clear about how well it integrates. And if you have issues at all with WPML not working well with another plugin, you might be able to find more information here. But the fact that it works well and they test with so many different plugins means they are trying to make their product as good as possible. So I'm sure if there's a big issue with your plugin, you can contact support and they will try to help you resolve it. Standout feature number 9 is theme compatibility. Same thing as the plugins. Here's a list and multiple pages of all the themes that WPML has been tested with and is compatible with, and whether there's issues, things like that. So if you have a theme that's not playing nice with the plugin, or the plugin's not playing nice with the theme, you can contact their support, and I'm sure they'll be able to help you or try to help you resolve any issues that you have. And there are a lot of themes listed here. 29 pages. 100% BuddyPress integration with the BuddyPress Multilingual add-on. You can completely translate every part of your community, meaning you can have multilingual community sites, which I know a lot of you guys would be very interested in. The 11th cool feature is complete integration with Toolset. I don't know if you knew this or not, but Toolset is created by the same developers as WPML, and so it makes sense that they would integrate. And this allows you to translate custom post types, custom fields, custom taxonomies, front-end forms, custom searches, custom templates. Complete membership sites can be translated using Toolset and WPML. So it's a great integration. I know some of you guys are using Toolset, so this might be something that can really help your site. And it also integrates with ACF. So if you have your site built with ACF, you can translate that with WPML just like you would with Toolset. Toolset and ACF do a lot of the same things as far as custom post types, custom fields, and custom templates go, and you can translate both of them with WPML. The 12th standout feature is the ability to integrate with the MailChimp WordPress plugin, so you can translate your sign-up forms and related messages on your site, so you can truly have a completely customized translated funnel, so that in MailChimp you could be sending out your emails in Spanish, your site can be in Spanish, and now with this integration with the MailChimp for WordPress plugin, you can translate the actual opt-in forms and any messages people would see on the page. The 13th standout feature is the ability to translate forms created with Gravity Forms, which is my personal all-time favorite form builder. It's a premium only, but this form builder can do pretty much anything you want to do with a form. And with WPML, you can translate that into any language that you need. And last but not least, the 14th standout feature I want to highlight is the ability to use WPML on a multi-site. You can either activate it for your entire network, or it can be activated for individual sites, and then those sites can translate as they would just a regular site with WPML. And that's the 14 awesome features I wanted to highlight. They're by no means all the features. I encourage you to check out the features page and the documentation, and a lot of the blog articles on here highlight features. It's an awesome plugin. If you want to translate your WordPress site, you can literally translate every single thing on your site using WPML. There are some exceptions. If the plugins don't play nice with each other, that does happen. But if everything plays nice, you can translate everything. So I really encourage you to click the link in the description down below. It's an affiliate link. If you do buy through that link, WPML sends me a small commission that I use to fund these tutorials and feed my family. It doesn't cost you any more to buy through that link. Same price for you, but then I get a small commission. Anyway, if you're looking to translate your site, make sure you keep WPML in mind. So that's how it works. So I hope this video helps you. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click subscribe, then the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. Make sure you check out the prior Facebook group, a link to in the description down below. And next up is clicking one of these videos that popped up on the right-hand side so you can get even better at WordPress. And until next time, keep crushing it, and I will see you in the next video.